One. I'm Lula, Director of Audience Development for Black Enterprise. Finding Joy is our joint video series hosted by Capital One that focuses on finding joy in the workplace and features Capital One associates who have cultivated joy through various professional experiences. Today's episode is all about finding joy in our career journeys. We're joined by two phenomenal women, Staci Fowler, Director of Recruiting, and Elisa, Director of Product Management, who will walk us through their professional journeys and tell us how they found joy in their respective careers. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, so let's just jump right in. How about we start with both of you telling us a little bit about yourselves and what is your role at Capital One?
Sure, I'm happy to share. So I joined Capital One last July. I am currently, as you mentioned, a director of recruiting, in particular for HR. And I have a team of recruiters who support roles for both administrative assistants and as well as HR roles that run the gamut from compensation to recruiters to learning and development.
Great. And first and foremost, I like to say I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, a friend, artist, and a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. My background is actually rooted in marketing and product. So after I received my MBA from Cornell about 10 years ago, I pursued a career in brand management and marketing, working in consumer packaged goods and retail industries such as Unilever, the Clorox Company, and Sephora before transitioning to product. Here at Capital One, I'm a product director and I lead a wonderful team of product managers working on bringing next generation capabilities to our marketing organization within CARD.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fact that you listed all of the things that you are, because we are just more than what we do for work. But I am curious, how has your career journey been with Capital One so far?
I'll go. So it's been really interesting for me. As I mentioned, I started last July 2021. And so that was still in the midst of the pandemic. In all of my career journey, I've never onboarded virtually. So that was very different and unique for me. And it presented a challenge that I had never been, had encountered before. And so I felt like as the new person onboarding virtually, I really had to be intentional to make connections. There wasn't going to be an opportunity for me to run into somebody. And plus I'm the new person, so no one's really looking for me. So I was that person that, I'm on a Zoom, I see a name, immediately jotting it down and then sort of reaching out to follow up to connect with folks. So that's been my journey thus far that sort of stood out in terms of onboarding virtually. It was very new for me.
And to build on that, I agree with everything that Staci said. I wasn't sure what to expect joining a company virtually, but I would say I've been here it's almost been exactly a year as well. And I've experienced challenges in a good way, appreciation and recognition consistently over the past year, which has just been such a valuable experience. And I just feel like it's not often that you can join an organization and very quickly be able to drive tangible value. So being able to have those opportunities to actually see that I've left my mark and started to help shape how the organization not only helps our marketers do marketing more efficiently and effectively, but also seeing how I was able to influence the culture as the lead for the DIB Council for the CARD product organization has truly been a whirlwind experience over just a year.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, Staci, I love the fact that you mentioned that you're the new person on the team. I'm actually the new person at Black Enterprise. I've only been here for 6 months now, so I love that you mentioned that. But I am interested in hearing from both of you. What about your jobs has brought you the most joy and why?
I can go. I think just in general, the jobs that have made me feel like that have sparked joy with me are the ones that I felt like I was able to leave a lasting impact on the organization or the role that I was in. And I don't know if it's because I'm an artist and I'm creative and I like to see like something that I've created come to life. So whether it's a product that I worked on, seeing it on the shelf, or playing a hand in like cultural shifts within the organization, seeing that tangible impact really is what makes me feel happy and proud and sparks joy for me in the roles that I've been in the past.
And I think for me, as my journey, my career journey has definitely not been linear. So in the places that I have worked where I have seen sort of a sense of community. Like community is so important to me in a workplace. This is where I'm spending the majority of my time, Monday through Friday. And so the areas in which I found the most joy is honestly with coworkers who I enjoyed working with, and also sort of developing talent. As a manager, being able to promote people and see the growth and development in them has also been very rewarding as well.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I know everyone who's watching right now is going to take away from that and trying to find joy in their respective career paths. But Staci, this question is for you. What advice would you give someone who's looking to begin their career journey? And what strategies could you use to pivot if you're not finding joy in your current career path?
Yeah, I think back to my journey, and I was thinking this morning, I think I actually started working at probably about 5 years old, right? So my career journey probably started at 5 with me and my sister doing chores in the house. I got my first job with, a W-2 when I turned 15 and a half. And so I've had a lot of different roles in my journey. LinkedIn does not tell the story of all of the places that I've worked. But I think anybody who's starting their journey, it's important to tell people, don't suffer in silence. If you are unhappy, if you want to seek out new opportunities, first tell your friends, tell your family, build that support system, use your network, use them as sounding boards, and then take the time to be introspective. Really sort of in those moments of silence, what are things that you need in order for you to be happy? And also set the non-negotiables. What are things that you are not willing to negotiate on? And the other thing I would say is also to take advantage of career coaches, whether you want to go to a career coach and pay for that, as well as if you come out of many colleges and universities, you're able to use career coaching as a service as an alum. So I would definitely tell folks to tap into those networks. You paid the college tuition, you might as well reap all the benefits.
Definitely. I mean, I think what you said is so critical because I think oftentimes in the workplace, we really suffer in silence and we really need to build those communities because we don't have to, right? But Elisa, I'm interested in hearing from you. How do you go with guiding someone and supporting them and finding joy in their career path?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Staci was saying, I feel like I've had many a conversation with whether it was with someone that's on my team that I manage or a colleague or even a friend that we spend so much of our time away from our families working. And often I remember I had a manager who told me, this is not jail. You don't have to do this if this isn't what's making you happy. And that has just stuck with me that you can make a change. And I think I learned early in life that life is short just based on life experiences. And I think all of us are starting to see that just based on what's happening in the world around us, that you don't have to suffer in silence, as Staci said, and that if there are elements of your job that aren't fun or sparking joy, I think take a step back to understand, okay, is this normal? Because you're not always going to love everything that you're doing, but you should feel energized and connected to the purpose and the goals that you're trying to drive within your role. So if you're not happy, I always say, take a step back, figure out what truly would make you happy. And sometimes you can still get that within your current role with talking to your manager and saying, hey, these are some experiences that would really help me to continue to grow and to develop. Or maybe it's finding a new job. And I think that it's you leveraging your network, having conversations, and just being honest with yourself about what truly does make you happy and what makes you energized to come to work every day.
Listen, I'm taking mental notes right now because you're dropping all the gems. But to continue in that vein, if you are a new professional in the workplace, and if you can give your younger self some advice, what advice would you give yourself to help find careers and companies that provide joy in the professional workspace?
You want me to go, Staci?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. I think there are two things, and I continue to tell myself to this day. The first is that you cannot compare your path to anyone else's. And I think it's so easy to get on LinkedIn and start scrolling and like, oh, wow, she's a VP, or oh, wow, look, he's starting a new company. You do not know you don't know everybody's story. You don't know what it took them to get to where they are. You don't know if they're happy. There's a lot that you can't see behind that screen, and you just can't compare yourself to anyone else. So that's the number one. And I continue to tell myself that on a daily basis. And I think the second is not to chase money, because it will come. It comes with it comes with the right roles. And I think the focus should really be on finding a role that's going to push you, that allows you to learn something new, gives you opportunities to not only leave that role or that company in a better place than it was before, but allows you to take those steps to meet your short-term and long-term goals.
Amazing. I mean, this question is for both of you all, but looking back on your career journey, what has been some defining moments for you at Capital One?
I would say for me, I remember my first week I started, my boss, she has been phenomenal in terms of onboarding to a new company and to a new role. And she told me my first week, she said, I give a real-time feedback. And so at first I was like a little bit stunned. And then I thought, well, no, I really appreciate that. I never had a boss sort of be that direct and tell me like, I'm going to tell you in real time how you're doing. If you need to improve in a space, I'm going to let you know. And I value that so much because I know when I don't hear from her, then I'm doing the right thing, right? And I know that she will give it to me in real time. It won't be, performance management time. And now I'm finding out, what she thinks of me. And I would say, ironically, the other defining moment is in March, I went to the Black Enterprise Women of Power Summit. Capital One sent about 30, 40 Black females out to Las Vegas for the conference. And that was defining for me because, as I mentioned, I started virtually. So I hadn't met any employees of Capital One in person. And so for my first time to meet, I haven't even met my boss yet in person. So my first time meeting folks was at the summit. And so it was just inspirational. Many of the speakers were motivating. And so for me, that's by far been a defining moment.
Elisa, I would love to definitely hear from you, but looking back on your career journey, what has been some of the defining moments for you at Capital One?
So I think there have been two. One is I have an amazing manager that truly has my back. He is an advocate for me, and he provides constructive feedback with the purpose of helping me to be great. And I think why that matters so much to me is that I think we've all can say that we've probably been in a role where we didn't have the greatest manager or didn't feel like we truly had someone who was looking out for our best interests. And so to come into a new organization and feel that instant connection immediately has allowed me to feel comfortable in presenting my point of view, and allow me to take those calculated risks, knowing that I have someone who is going to have my back. So I would say that's number one. And the second is I've been able to help recruit diverse talent to the organization, as well as informally mentor diverse talent within the organization. And so that has just left me, it makes me feel so happy to know that I can share my experiences and help others, and also pull others into a great organization.
It's interesting. This is the first time I actually went to the Women of Power Summit this year. So I met a lot of my colleagues. So we share a lot of similarities in our workforce journey. But I also am interested in hearing what learning opportunities and professional development courses or resources that you have taken advantage of at Capital One that have enhanced your skill sets and your career journey. And I'd love to hear from both of you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I can start. I think for me, I attended some external conferences, and I've done webinars and things like that. But what's truly been the most impactful to my development within the company and just continuing to learn is really being able to have these deep on the job kind of one-on-one sessions with SMEs within the product and tech organization, being able to sit down and really learn from my peers and from people I report into who are willing to take the time to really do like in-depth learning sessions have been invaluable. And I think that just goes to show that Capital One truly values not only getting results, but how the work gets done, and being able to work in such a collaborative environment has allowed me to just be a sponge and soak up and ask questions and learn. So for me, that's really been the most valuable kind of resource that I've encountered working here.
And when I started, I remember in my interview, one of the interviewers mentioned Capital One is really big on slide decks. So you really need to sort of be polished on that. So immediately within the first 4 weeks on the job, I enrolled in a course, the art of presenting. I'm like, I need to have my brand tight. I need to have the right colors, the right font. Just really wanted to be thorough as I sort of acclimated to the company. And then I would say the other thing that I mentioned earlier that I have taken advantage of at Capital One is career coaching. So I feel like that's a lifelong, we talk about a career journey. I always want to be coached. I always want to further develop. And so it's definitely something that I've taken advantage of and found fruitful.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about the past and your career journey and how you've gotten to where you are right now at Capital One, but I'm curious, what other growth opportunities are you eager to invest in at Capital One right now?
I definitely want to get more involved in the employee resource groups, the BRG. Like I just have not had the time in that space. So that's definitely something I want to be more involved in.
I would say for me, a couple months into working here, I volunteered to lead the Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Council for the Product Card organization. And so doing that, I think it's something I want to continue to lean into and helping to shape the strategy and vision for our organization in that way. But I really would love to mentor formally within the organization and also find a mentor within Capital One as well. To Staci's point, I think coaching and mentorship are so important regardless of where you are in your career. And that's a growth opportunity I would love to explore.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to also add too is Capital One does a great job of sort of bringing opportunities to us. So while we as associates may seek out opportunities, they have great relationships with vendors. I recently did in the springtime mock interviews for Spelman students. And so I found that, I found joy in that when you talk about in your journey. So making time to give back as well is always important to me.
Yeah, I think it's super critical. And I love the fact that you're giving back, going to Spelman and other colleges to be able to invest in the future communities that are coming up. We discussed a little bit about how you both are building communities. I'm curious, what communities are you a part of that have brought you the most joy throughout your career?
I would say, both informal and formal, right? So informally, always have Black women in the workplace. Like I find them, I want to, I want to see people who look like me. I want that space where it's just soothing my soul and I'm finding comfort in that. And then obviously formally with more professional associations, being involved in that always allows me to gain more knowledge, informs the work that I do and what I can apply and bring back.
And I agree with Staci. Whenever I'm in a meeting, even still at Capital One, and I see a brown face, and I slack them on the side. I'm like, "Hey, would love to set up some time to meet you." So I agree. I love to seek out people who look like me. I think it's just nice in the workplace, particularly within corporate America, when there aren't a lot of people who look like us. I think it's important to build that community. Also, before I got went on to get my MBA, I was in a prep program sponsored by Management Leadership for Tomorrow, which is a great organization. And I have developed a tremendous community through that as well. So, 10, 12 years into it, I still am very close to some of the alum as well, outside of work, my family, my friends, obviously, my business school friends, my neighbors. I feel like community can come from all around you. And I think it's important that we're able to tap into all of those communities, whether it's at work or outside of work.
Definitely. I mean, ladies, this has been such an incredible conversation. Is there anything else you'd like to share about finding joy in your career that we didn't discuss today?
I would just want to end with the idea that if you are unhappy, I always tell people, if you're crying at your job, it's time to change. It's time to make the change. The world is tough and hard right now. And so, the things that you have control over, which I do believe people have control over their employment, where they work and where they want to work, to sort of be steadfast in that. Dedicate the time to get out of that unhappy situation. You don't have to stay, as said earlier, it's not jail. Like you can be released, employment at will. And so seek out new opportunities.
So I looked up the formal definition of joy, and joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. So when I thought about that, one thing that popped in my mind is that joy doesn't happen in isolation. You don't have it just at home. You don't have it just at work. It flows through every aspect of your life. So there may be times where your joy meter is low at work, and we'll all have those moments. But I think really what we should be seeking to find is that balance in your life of finding joy versus really focusing and honing in on one siloed aspect of your life where you'll have joy.
Ladies, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you for joining us. Wow. Thank you so much, Staci and Elisa, for such a great conversation on finding joy in our career journeys. And thank you to Capital One for bringing us such an important conversation. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.